Welcome to the 4 Mile Circus, the official podcast of 4 Mile Circus, which is a media services company based in Brooklyn. I am one half of 4 Mile Circus and the 4 Mile Circus podcast. My name is Nicole Solomon.
And I'm the other half of 4 Mile Circus, Sean Mannion.
On today's episode, we're going to be wrapping up the dumpster fire of a year that was 2016. Doing a, end of year episode thing where we talk about the year like people do. That's a thing. And we will be back in 2017 with more new episodes featuring actual guests as opposed to this one where we are just talking to one another, me and Sean.
We're talking to ourselves. We're used to that. But in January, we'll be back with some episodes where we talk to somebody else. And I think first up is going to be the fabulous Hey Yun Park of the web series Hey Yun and the upcoming web series BKPI and a lot of other really cool projects. She's a great writer, director, actor, performer, clown, joy to be around, etc. But today we're just going to be around each other talking about 2016. Yay. But first, I think maybe there's a social media tip that Sean has. Is that correct, Sean? Yes, I do have a social media tip. And the tip is join us January 28th at Videology for one of our social media and crowdfunding workshops. If you're in New York, that's Videology Bar and Cinema in Williamsburg. If you're not in New York, it'll be very expensive for you to get here and take the workshop, but I'm not going to stop you. The social media and crowdfunding strategies and realities workshop that we're giving is the same one, probably a little modified, but it's the same one that we gave at the Axe Wound Horror Film Festival this past November in Vermont. Had a good time. A lot of good questions, a lot of good feedback. That's the same event where we interviewed Heidi Moore, who participated in the workshop and had a couple of good questions for us. So we're doing this workshop now here in Brooklyn at Videology Bar and Cinema. It's Saturday, January 28th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Is the workshop. We're going to follow that up with some networking, get to know some people, get to know us, get to know beer or wine if you prefer wine.
I prefer whiskey. Can I get to know whiskey?
I'm pretty sure you can get to know whiskey. I'm pretty sure they've got some whiskey there.
Okay, good. Maybe some new and exotic whiskeys that I haven't already gotten to know. That sounds good to me.
That does sound good.
But so where can people get tickets to attend this, Sean?
People can get tickets right now. You can get them at 4 Mile Circus. That's 4, the word mile, the word circus, .eventbrite.com. Is the most direct way to get there. If you're listening to this sometime in the future, you may want to look up if we have a new workshop coming up at 4milecircus.com/workshops.
There's also a link there to get tickets, right?
Exactly.
If you go to 4milecircus.com/workshops, it'll tell you all things 4 Mile Circus workshops.
Exactly. Past workshops, current workshops. So anytime, present or future, you can go there. But right now, the fastest way to get those tickets is 4milecircus.com. or 4milecircus.eventbrite.com.
I have a question, though. I have another question. Sean, who should take this workshop? Who is this workshop for?
This workshop's really for just about anybody who's looking to build their audience in 2017. Maybe if they're trying to start a new crowdfunding campaign, get something off the ground. Our workshop's really, it's a foundational sort of effort, or not effort, for foundational sort of instruction. It's all about the principles, many of which we espouse here on the show, but it's an opportunity to sort of get it in a condensed, organized format in which you can ask us questions, which is a big part of how our workshops work in context with other people who may have questions that you haven't thought of.
So this workshop is appropriate both for beginners and also people who have a level of experience with social media and crowdfunding, but are looking to learn some new tricks and brush up maybe and hone their focus to be a little bit sharper, things like that.
Exactly. I think there's definitely an appeal for those who are just
new to everything or feel maybe a little in over their heads. But then for people who have experience, I think that if we're either going to be reinforcing things that they know and helping them like find some focus, because that's, I think, a big thing that we've pushed over the last, at least the last, what is this, episode 14? The last 14 episodes or something. But also, like, there may be some new things that they don't know or some new experiences that they can learn from. There's a lot of different opinions out there on how things are supposed to work, and I think we're really, unlike a lot of people, we're not selling them on, a magical solution that's going to make everything perfect and wonderful. We're talking very much about here's your realistic approach to making these work for you and what you want.
And I think the kinds of people that we can help make things work for include a wide range of different interests professionally. And personally, some people who have benefited from our workshops include other filmmakers, obviously, looking to build audiences for their work and perhaps raise funds for said work or look for collaborators, as well as actors, for example, who are looking to use social media to find work for themselves and connect with other filmmakers and producers effectively in a way that leads to actual paid work, or anybody else working in film or television, as well as, writers we've talked with, musicians and bands we have worked with on these things, nonprofit professionals looking to harness social media and crowdfunding technologies for their organizations, other entrepreneurs with small startup businesses looking to build their brand and expand their client base and raise funds for whatever they may need, as well as, artists of all other kinds of stripes and, anybody who just has a project they're trying to get out there and might need money to help make happen. And we can help you. Mm-hmm. All of you people. We can, all of you. Everybody listening, we can help you, goddammit. Why won't you just let us help you?
I mean, with that kind of pitch, like, how could anybody resist?
Anyway, let's make 2017 better than 2016, even though no signs are pointing to it being better thus far, except for the 4 Mile Circuit social media and crowdfunding strategies and realities workshop, because we can help you get your head on the way it needs to get on for you to make 2017 at least personally and professionally successful.
It's true. And also, just one more addendum to that. If it's not something that you think is for you specifically, but somebody in your life might benefit from it, or if you're somewhere outside of New York but know somebody in New York who could probably benefit from it, but we also can, you can buy it as a gift for them, a gift certificate. You can go to 4milescircus.com/gifts, and you can purchase a workshop ticket or a couple of other services, including a consultation or a social media audit for somebody that you care about that you think might benefit from it.
And if you purchase those items for your friend or loved one, or friend and loved one, through 4milescircus.com/gifts, we will email them a nice, pretty gift certificate. Like, it'll be nice. It'll be like a gift. We'll make it pretty and special.
There will be a bow on it. I mean, it won't be a real bow. It'll be like a virtual bow, but there will be a bow on it.
So, like, if there was a bow on the Lawnmower Man, it would be like that kind of bow, because virtual.
Exactly.
It's
a virtual reality Lawnmower Man thing. I'm not gonna Photoshop all the sex scene from Lawnmower Man into all the gift certificates. That's just weird. No. Why would you suggest that? That's disgusting. You disturbing woman. Although I will note that since we're recording this podcast before Christmas, which is probably important for some of our listeners. I don't know much about the other holidays happening right now or when you're allowed to give gifts. So it's going to go up after Christmas on the 26th. So, it's good late.
What's going to go up after Christmas?
This
podcast. Sorry. Okay.
The thing that we're doing right now.
I'm still stuck on the Lawnmower Man sex scene.
Yeah,
I'm ruined for the rest of the episode.
Why would you bring that up? I don't understand why you would bring that up. It's disturbing.
It's that self-destructive.
Yeah, you've ruined everything.
Anyway.
FourMilesCircus.com/gifts is great for late Christmas presents or whatever other holiday present timing that works for. If you got somebody who needs a birthday present coming up, that's good as well. Or New Year's present. That should be a thing. Everybody should get each other New Year's presents.
This is actually a good present for the new year because it ties in very legitimately. If you're the sort of person who does New Year's resolutions, or you know somebody who does, and you have a resolution that has anything to do with, say, getting a business off the ground, or getting your career on track, or getting more work, or getting better work, or any of those things, or just, getting your social media game on point, and or this year I'm going to crowdfund, then you know what? Our workshop is just the perfect gift. Or a consultation would be great too, or a social media audit, or just buy them a copy of Small Talk, because that's totally perfect too, I've decided. Right?
Yeah,
that totally
Small
fits.
Talk is a holiday classic in the making. It's definitely, like, when I watch it, I feel like this is like Die Hard, but with none of the same elements as Die Hard.
Except for the holiday cheer.
But with none of the same elements.
Okay, great episode. Happy end of 2016, everybody. Bye.
No.
No, there's a whole episode?
Yeah, you still have to talk to me for a while.
Shit. Okay. Well, let's get to it, I guess.
So what did we do in 2016? I've blocked a lot of it.
I think we've all done that. Time Signature did not come out in 2016, much as I keep wanting to say that it did.
It was 2015. It all blurs together.
Well, we officially launched 4 Mile Circus as a joint project.
Yeah.
We did that. We
started this podcast.
We started this podcast. We had a lot of great guests.
We had our Friday the 13th event.
We did
in May.
At which we screened Small Talk and Beneath the Black Moon. It was the Small Talk VOD release party.
It was. And now you can get both of those on VHS for Magnetic Magic Rentals.
Yes, but
also a good holiday present.
It's the best holiday present, in fact. Magnetic Magic Rentals. Google that, and the 4 Mile Circus Grindhouse double feature is the name of that VHS tape that you can purchase, including those 2 movies. But yeah, we did that. We wrote and shot and edited and released a short horror film called Mare.
Right, we did that on Halloween. That came out the last time we released an episode where we talked to each other.
That's true. That it did. We did a bunch of work for clients, but that's weird to talk about.
Yeah, we don't want to, we don't want to brag about like all the clients we had and how great we are and how they all loved us and they hugged us a lot. Oh wait, that didn't happen. There's no hugging.
We also things. We did a bunch of music videos, and there's more coming. There's more.
One came out, right?
One came out.
One came out for the Shondas.
Shondas. Yes.
I keep the E's there. It keeps making me want to say E's.
I know, and it's it's a transliteration of Yiddish, so the spelling is I could talk the rest of the episode about the spelling and how that was reached. There was controversy about how the band should spell their name. There wasn't really controversy, but there was discussion. In any event, yes, we have a few more music videos coming out from them in 2017, including because this will be after the new year and we won't be taking submissions anymore for the True North.
No, this comes out on the 26th.
Oh shit. That's right. I need to drink more coffee. If you would actually, we are doing a music video for the Shonda's song True North. If you Google that, you can find it. It's on their Bandcamp, which I believe is like shondas.bandcamp.com or some such. You can listen to the song there, and we are soliciting submissions of very, very short little video clips of different people doing a very simple little thing that if you are interested in that, please email True North Submissions, I believe with an S, but let me double check that because that would be bad to get wrong. No, email if you are interested in being a part of this music video with this mysterious little video clip that we are soliciting people to shoot and send for us. That is very simple, but just a little convoluted to explain. If you want to be in a Shonda's music video produced by 4 Mile Circus, basically, email True North Video Submission. No S, not submissions plural, submission, yours singular, at gmail.com. And we will email you all the details of what we need from you and a release form and some more information about the project.
So if people want to be in the True North music video, it's True North Submission.
No, oh my God. Everyone's going to be so confused. It's True North Video Submission.
True North Video Submission at gmail.com.
Yes.
In order to be in a music video.
Yes. Directed by me.
Directed by you.
With you doing some stuff.
Have we reached out to Tawny Katane?
I mean, I don't
know what she's doing.
I don't think her...
Isn't she in all the music videos? I mean, I don't watch a lot of music videos, but I feel like she's in all the music videos.
I think so. I think that, not always on a car, though. That's a stereotype. Sometimes she's a sexy waitress. Sometimes she's roller skating. Sometimes there's just flames behind her for no reason.
Is there roller skating in this music video?
There could be.
So people could, if somebody wanted to roller skate and video that and send it in for this True North thing, they should do it within these parameters.
I don't think it really fits within these parameters.
Doesn't fit in with... So don't roller skate.
No, you can do what you want. If you want to send us some roller skating footage, you can do that.
I can't roller skate. The last time I tried to roller skate was like 15 years ago, and I kept falling over.
The last time I tried to roller skate, I think I was in 4th grade, and I roller skated into a parked car in my own driveway, and I fucked up my leg really badly, and I've still got a big scar, and I had to walk around with a cane for a while as a 4th grader.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So is my life, Sean. Thanks. Anyway, those are some things we did. We also went to Axe Wound and did the workshop that we just talked about a second ago, and Axe Wound was great. And
everybody at Axe Wound was great.
Everybody. Yeah.
Except that one guy.
Oh, fuck him.
He wasn't there, but...
but you could
guy.
couldn't be avoided.
You could feel it. It was just in the universe.
Yeah. Ugh, that sucked. Anyway, that's stuff we did.
That is. And then a lot of other stuff happened in the world. Most of it not good.
Yeah.
It's been one of those years where, in general, like, the state of the world has been kind of shitty, but my personal life hasn't been that bad. So it's been like when we all like talk about how awful 2016 is, I'm like, yeah, it has been, but also it hasn't been like, I haven't had that bad of a year.
Well, that's nice for you, Sean.
It is. Well, you had a nice thing happen this last week.
That's true. My little niece was just born.
So it's not that bad.
No, that's great. To be real, I've had some very good stuff happen this year, too, that I'm very happy about. And my niece is chief among those things, but also a lot of bad stuff has happened that I don't want to talk about on this podcast. Right. So we won't go there. So it has, I consider it a dumpster fire of a year, but a dumpster fire with some, surprising guest stars.
Yeah.
Like some angels came down in the middle of the dumpster fire and like shared some wisdom or something. And you're like, oh, that's good.
They roasted some marshmallows, which were good. But also they were dumpster fire marshmallows, so there was sort of a bad taste that was associated with them, even though they were good marshmallows. You don't eat marshmallows.
I eat vegan marshmallows.
So vegan marshmallows for you. Angels with vegan marshmallows roasted over a dumpster fire. Still good, but have that dumpster fire back aftertaste.
That's pretty accurate.
I think that's probably the best metaphor for 2016. Is there a place I can register that? As best metaphor for 2016. Dumpster fire with angels coming down.
See, if we had just live streamed this episode, I'm sure somebody would have an answer for you and would be able to help you out with registering that metaphor.
We that's another thing that we were doing during this year was live streaming the podcast episodes. We've stopped that for just right now for the end of the year because we're reevaluating that. But if you're somebody who has been watching the live streams and you'd like them to come back, please let us know at info@fourmilecircus.com and where you'd prefer to watch it.
Because we're thinking about leaving Facebook Live because, I mean, obviously. So we're thinking about things like Periscope.
Yeah, Periscope. I mean, we could even do the super, like, you had to be there, which we played with during recording Hey and Parks episode a couple of days ago, where we did it on Instagram. That Instagram doesn't save those live streams, so you either have to be watching it when it happens or you don't get to see it. So we had some fun moments there, and by fun moments, I mean I just recorded you guys saying some stuff during the normal course of the episode. But yeah, if you're interested in that and you want to try to catch it live and be able to respond and be part of it in that sense, then reach out to us and let us know what is interesting to you, because I think there's also there's a lot of options out there for live streaming, and I think we feel that Facebook Live hasn't been what we'd hoped it would be when we first started it.
When they seemed like they were finally enabling a kind of landscape mode,
Yeah.
but only if it was sideways.
Is that how it works?
That was when I was like, done. Fuck. Like I was watching a Facebook live stream from a friend, and people were like, turn the camera, turn the phone, because it was, and she turned the phone and it went into landscape, but the landscape was like vertical.
Oh, well, that's probably because that's how they started it. So if you start it vertical, yeah, that'll work on any of those.
I've seen that more than once, though. I've seen.
Well, if people were to go searching, they would actually see our previous social media and crowdfunding workshop that Ashley from Graveyard Sisters, she posted to Periscope, which is very cool. But if you look at the start of it, it's that weird. It's
right, but I'm talking about Facebook.
Yeah. But what I mean is, I think most of them will do that. If you start in one mode, if you start it portrait, and then you turn it, it turns it sideways instead.
Okay, so this was not a useful piece of information that I shared with people.
But no, I think it might still. It's just dumb. It's not the functional that I think we'd all like it to be.
Facebook sucks. Moving on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. I'm sorry. It does. I use it. It's good for sharing photos of my niece.
Well,
and
I think that's one thing to talk about with 2016 is because Facebook and what happened with Facebook
that's true.
And during the election is a big part of what we do, and also the landscape of 2016.
Should you explain what you mean by that, just in case somebody listening doesn't?
Yeah. Well, just to get into it, I mean, a lot of this came up after the election. I mean, people have been talking about it before, but then as soon as an election is done, everybody wants, no matter what happens, everybody always talks about, like, how could it have been different? Why did it happen this way? And of course, this year in particular, there were a lot of people talking about, wow, how did it happen this way? But one of those things had to do with Facebook advertising and what I believe are called dark posts. And that's basically extremely targeted Facebook advertising where they drill down to very, very specific people with very, very specific interest groups and showed them, only them, very specifically targeted campaign ads. And this was implemented primarily by the Trump campaign, who basically flooded Facebook ads with money and hundreds, if not thousands. I think it may have been thousands of extremely targeted ads. And so when people wonder, like, oh, how could people believe this thing or that thing, or I never saw anybody talking about this or that, it's because they didn't want you to they didn't want you to see them or these particular posts. They wanted these to only be seen by people with specific interests or specific associations, and that's who they targeted.
Do you have any examples of, like, what the content of some of these? I mean, because I've seen, like, the Trump TV ads. I've seen the, like, ridiculous,
I'm trying to
anti-Semitic,
remember
like dog whistly stuff, and all.
I think
some
it
sort of
was
bullshit.
they were usually targeted at whatever one talking point or another. I don't have a specific example off the top of my head because I didn't see any of them. But there's an interesting New York Times article about how the Trump campaign leveraged that. That was from like the week after the campaign or something like that. There's been a lot of talk about the influence of social media during the campaign, but also like the impact of social media and all of these things on us socially outside of the internet.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about the fake news.
We can talk about the fake news
which is related because Facebook also played a key role in that, and Facebook, I believe, is the single, like, by far largest source through which people get news.
Correct.
Which, again, like, Facebook doesn't see itself as like a source of content. It's just a platform through which content is disseminated and shared by users, right? So, it's not their fault, which is why initially when concerns about a lot of fake news stories, by which different people have slightly varying, different definitions of fake news, I've seen a lot of pushback that has validity to it about some of the lists, for example, that have circulated about, like, don't share stuff from these news sites. These are fake news. And it includes everything from, like, Clickhole, which is, to my mind, like, very clearly marketing itself as parody and satire and is really not trying to fool anybody at all into thinking that it's real. And so I think it's a little weird to call that fake news. And as well as, like, just very, very partisan sites. Truthout.org is the main one that kind of raised my eyebrows, and I've heard other people comment on, because there's some good reporting going on there. It's not fake news, but people are like, but it's very, very partisan. It's like, okay, that's kind of a different thing, though.
That's not the same thing.
That's a different thing. Like, I think it's good to be aware of what your sources are, and if, you're getting stuff exclusively from hyper-partisan news sites that are, like, along the same lines, like, I would say maybe diversify a little bit, but that doesn't mean it's fake, and that's problematic that some of those lists were going around like that. But then there's also all this stuff that's what I'm talking about primarily, which is just made up news stories.
Yes, but specifically just made up to get
clicks.
Some of them possibly initially disseminated to cause disruptions.
Well, a lot of
the people who perpetuated it just cared about clicks.
Yes. I mean, I think it's a mix of things, and I've read different things, and there might be some sources that are more intentional propaganda, but then there are the ones that are just purely their ideology is capitalism. They want to make money, and they think that as long as you're doing something that's technically within the law that makes money, you must be good, right? Because that's the goal under capitalism, is profit. So if you are having a content farm where you have, or writers who just generate stories that they know will get clicks that are just completely made up about, like, George Soros paid this protester however much money they said George Soros paid protesters. That was a story that was very popular on Facebook. A lot of people were sharing it. And because of Facebook's algorithm, similarly to what you were saying about the very targeted ads, Sean, people get siloed off into their little corners where, if they're looking at stuff on Facebook, Facebook is showing them stuff that Facebook thinks they want to see. Correct. Not stuff that's going to piss them off, not stuff that they're going to be like, hey, that's not true, stuff that makes people feel good. And generally, that might be like somebody had a baby, or somebody got married, and good news. We all know good news is weighed heavily in Facebook's algorithm. That's why sometimes you can juice your posts by throwing in congratulations. I don't know if that still works, but it certainly did for a while. Or other keywords that indicate celebratory news. But also, Facebook wants to show you stuff that confirms your own biases, because when we see stuff that makes us think that we are correct, that makes us feel good. It makes me feel good. I'm not separate from this. I try to be critical about it and, think about that and be aware of it, and, not just fall prey to confirmation bias and things like that. But Facebook really makes that difficult because basically all they show you is stuff that they think is right up your alley. And that can make using Facebook a little less stressful than it might be if you were seeing stuff that was upsetting all the time, you know? So it's not exactly all bad, you know? Like, there are things I don't want to see, and it's kind of nice that Facebook doesn't show them to me. But in terms of understanding what's going on in the world, and when you have people disseminating just genuinely false information through these channels, that's extremely dangerous. And Mark Zuckerberg did not take this shit seriously until very, very recently. And now they've got the, like, you can report, I think this is fake news on Facebook. And I have no hope, basically, for this. I'm just like, burn it all down. I don't fucking know. This is bad.
The fake, with the reporting, at least that there's like a third, if enough people report something, it goes to a third-party fact-checking committee. Which is composed of people from like Snopes and I think ABC News and some other like legit news organizations that are just like, no, that's fake.
That's good, but one, I'm concerned about how far-right trolls will abuse this system to get stuff that they don't like taken down, because that is what they have been doing for years on Facebook as well as on other platforms. You know, a lot of friends of mine who are higher profile than I am, who write about politics, especially if they're, say, I don't know, women of color who write about racism and sexism a lot, they get marked as hate speech right and left and get like their accounts like suspended for something that's like really not against terms of service at all, because enough people reported it, because those little fucks are pretty organized.
Yeah.
And they're pretty organized at using a lot of the same techniques that we try to help people use to, like, you know, get your film in front of people who might actually like your film, which to my mind is like a relatively benign goal in navigating social media algorithms. But other people are using them for extremely malicious goals, including censorious goals, which is another thing I think we need to keep in mind as we dance this delicate little dance of how to deal with fake news without infringing on the First Amendment, which is something that's going to be happening enough in the future that artists should also be aware of and thinking about moving into the future dumpster fire of 2017.
It might just be like a dumpster, it might just be a trash fire. I mean, or at least a different kind of dumpster fire.
I mean, of course it'll be
like a small dumpster fire.
I think it's going to be a bigger dumpster fire, dude. Did you see what happened in the news yesterday?
Which one?
The fucking ambassador getting shot in that art gallery?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I can't look at those photos. Those photos look to me like, just the fact that it looks like it's a performance art thing.
Yeah.
It like chills me to the bone. So that's a fun thing that happened. And then there was, in Berlin, there was the truck drove into the Christmas market. That was good. It was another cool thing that happened yesterday. And the Electoral College, you know, confirmed that Donald Trump's the president-elect. That was a great thing that happened. But yes, I mean, we all expected it, but it's still...
It's just to briefly go into that, because I don't think we could talk about that for forever. It was concerning that Clinton lost more Electoral College votes than Trump did.
Well, you know why that is. It was it obviously didn't work, but it was a strategic thing of these, you know, Democratic electors were like, we'll vote for Colin Powell, like, as a show of good faith, like, to try to get Republicans to vote for Colin Powell. That's who the Democrats who voted for Hillary Clinton were.
But they didn't actually get them to vote for it.
No, I know. I'm not saying the strategy worked. The one silver lining of all of that is at least it'll go down in history as, like, this was not a normal Electoral College vote. No. Like, this was chaotic. All this weird shit happened. What the fuck is that? And on the one hand, like, in a way, it's a bummer. I've seen people be like, oh my God, they're just kicking Hillary when she's down. How could you do that? On the other hand, Hillary's fine.
She's going to be fine.
I'm not as invested in, like, what this psychologically did to Hillary, because I feel like I have no idea. And it would be very arrogant for me to even assume, not that I'm begrudging anyone having that reaction. That was my knee-jerk reaction at first, too. I'm just like, oh, fuck, really? And then I'm like, well, you know what, though? Like, that's really fucking weird that we had Democrat electors voting for Colin Powell, and I'm glad that this is just another stop on this asshole's march into office of, like, nothing's going right. Everything's ridiculous. Everything's weird. There's this level of chaos, and I want things to continue being unprecedented. I want things to continue being, there's pushback, there's stuff going on, something's not right. And so, in a sense, her losing those electors, since she wasn't going to win anyway, like, is another piece of that. And so, and I'm hoping that this will also be, like, another step towards the Electoral College imploding, because I've thought we shouldn't have an Electoral College ever since I knew what it was. And the reason I wasn't, especially as like a young angry person, angrier about the Electoral College is because at that point in my experience, the popular vote and the Electoral College vote always lined up in terms of who the winner was.
Right.
I didn't experience anything other than that until 2000.
Correct.
And, the older people I talked to were like, yeah, it sucks and it's not really democratic and it's like this weird anachronistic thing that doesn't really make sense. But we always end up with the same president anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, okay, so it's another way in which our government is kind of like bullshit and hypocritical and things aren't,
And a lot of people are just too like, well, that's what we've been doing it, and it's not really a problem, so let's not do anything about it.
It's a big fucking problem this year.
Yeah, it's a big problem this year. But also, it's the same thing as like what happens when you try to confront people who are deeply involved in all of this, in what happens with the like third parties. Like, why do we only have two parties? Well, we're a two-party system. Okay, but that's messed up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the lack of this is my saw that I've been on recently. It's just the lack of creativity with which people approach their own lives is really depressing to me, including artists. Like, we're supposedly artists, and we hang out with a lot of artists, and the fact that some artists say shit like that, I'm just like, what? Aren't you an artist because you, like, imagine things? Because you like to think about how things could be different? That's part of why I'm an artist. It's a fucking coping mechanism I developed as a small child to escape from whatever bullshit was going on around me and try to envision a world of less bullshit that I might be able to be a part of. That's how I think I got into, like, telling stories and shit like that. And I think that's true for a lot of people. And I don't get those of y'all who, seem to feel differently, who seem to be a little more complacent and a little bit more like, well, it's how things are, so it's how things are.
Yeah. I think most of us are just artists as an excuse for our personality failings. It's like, I don't suck as a person, I'm an artist.
No, that's when I was younger, I used to be like, someday I'm not going to be a weirdo loser, I'm going to be eccentric.
Exactly.
Someday people are going to be like, oh, that's Nicole. Yeah, she just putters around the house, like, talking to her cat because, she's so, like, in her zone.
Yes, you're so eccentric.
Yeah.
Still waiting for that day.
Yeah, not because I'm unpopular, because I'm eccentric. I think you need money to be eccentric, though.
You do.
That's the part. I'm just waiting for the money to come in. I've got the rest of this down.
So come to the workshop. Get tickets. So Nicole can be eccentric. That's January 28th at Videology in Brooklyn. You can get tickets at 4milecircus.eventbrite.com.
You're going to have to remember that URL because every time I try to, my brain freezes. We can come back to the election, but we could also talk about that all day.
And I don't really want to. I think honestly, like,
my stomach sinks. I'm like, we could talk about Donald Trump on Twitter. No.
I mean, so just like in the general sense, first of all, like, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time like trying to break down like what happened or whatever, because honestly, most people who are doing that, it's bullshit clickbait, and we're not doing that. But the truth is there are lessons to be learned and things to think about in terms of how it works and what has been done. And we can also just complain as much as we want about how stupid algorithms are. I think the algorithms are kind of the I don't think anybody's particularly satisfied with any of them, and they're sort of like just what developers think is like, oh, this is good. We want clean information. We want people to get like just what they want. Except for the fact of the matter is most people probably just want a chronological timeline. They were happy with it back then. They want to see what's coming up right now. If I want to I don't want to log into Facebook and see this same 3 posts every time that I didn't like, that I'm not interested in, but you think I'm interested in. But you keep showing me even though other people have posted things. Or Instagram. Well, Instagram's a little bit...
I mean, as long as you give notifications, like, so if there was a post yesterday that's been like super active and I commented on it and other people have commented on it and I might want to see those comments, I'll get a notification that it's there. It doesn't have to pop up at the top of my timeline again.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think 4 Mile Circus is coming down largely anti-algorithm. Also, this is all a big lesson about the place for social media in our lives, which obviously... We are not anti-social media here at 4 Mile Circus.
I think we're realistic about it.
Exactly. And social media can be a great tool for communication and community building and organizing and sharing of information in some ways to a point. And it has its limitations. And I think this election showed us some of what they are and showed us like the needs for other ways to come together, that social media doesn't replace the, storied town square or whatever. That social media, I mean, there are people who, because of illness or disability or geographical isolation or any number of factors, it may be harder than it is for me in New York City to, leave your house and have face-to-face conversations with a cross-section of people about stuff. It feels hard enough for me. As someone who lives in Brooklyn, where I know a lot of people I actually like, which is pretty cool. And it still feels hard enough for me to like leave my house, and it's easier to be in front of my computer communicating with people that way. And as a big introvert, that's often the way I prefer to. But it's a big wake up call that that's not enough. I need to push myself to, go out in the world more. And I think to the degree that people can do that, I think that's the case for a lot of people. I don't think that's just a me thing. I'm trying to be realistic about people's ability to do that, but...
Yeah. Well, I think talking with somebody face-to-face is it's better for everybody most of the time over talking to them in sort of this faceless, you're looking at your computer screen environment, because everybody looks the same when they're on your laptop or whatever.
Also, there's a reason you and I have weekly meetings in person for
Exactly.
4 Mile Circus. Sometimes more than one, but no matter what, unless it's, really specific circumstances, like we have a meeting face to face for hours at least once a week, because even us knowing each other, communicating through, text and email and the phone is not a substitute for sitting down face to face and having a real conversation.
Exactly.
You get a lot more done a lot more quickly. And another thing I'd like to point out is incoming administration, we have no reason to think will show any sort of restraint whatsoever regarding privacy, considering how far we've slid already in losing rights to privacy and how much electronic communication facilitates the government or corporations or other parties, knowing a lot about you and what's going on with you. If there might be stuff you're doing that you don't want everybody in the world to know, you're going to have conversations about that stuff face to face, because otherwise you've got a whole fucking record of absolutely everything that you have no reason to think can't be tapped into very easily by any number of parties, both foreign and domestic. I mean, I know it's easy for a lot of us to be like, yeah, but I'm not doing anything, so why would anyone care about me? And it's like, yeah, that's true until it isn't. So better safe than sorry.
Or until somebody decides that something that you're doing is something that they're interested in.
Exactly.
Like something that you don't think is particularly important.
Exactly.
Or somebody with your same name, or somebody who used to have your phone number or something.
Yeah, no, that shit happens. And what's more, also, like, I can be very critical of past presidents and how they've handled surveillance, including Obama, certainly including George W. Bush. But Trump, he's kind of next level with this shit, and he's also petty as fuck. I mean, he was tweeting about that fucking Vanity Fair bad review of his restaurant.
That's how most of us heard about it. Because
Yeah.
most of us don't read Vanity Fair. In fact, he's kind of probably good for a lot of those things because he's going to complain about them. And I mean, not policy-wise, but in terms of
It
like
might help out Vanity Fair sales. They're doing a like Trump subscription sale.
Yeah, I think well, and a lot of people were telling me about, and I was one of the people who did it, that a lot of newspapers and started getting more subscribers after the election.
And that's good, but that's kind of a pretty
I mean, they're not going to
dim silver lining.
Yeah.
Because also, like, yeah, until he destroys them, like his boy did Gawker, you know?
Yeah.
Peter Thiel, who brought this suit against Gawker, which destroyed it, which, you know, much as I like to complain about Gawker, they also did do some real journalism, and they were not destroyed for good reasons. They were destroyed because a rich dude had a chip on his shoulder and a grudge, and Peter Thiel's pretty tight with Trump, and I do not think it will be the easiest ride for the press, and I don't know that all of our press institutions will survive the next 4 years or more, you know, for better and mostly worse. So I'm
definitely
glad.
Smaller ones will have more trouble. I imagine a lot of the larger ones won't have a lot of the larger institutional ones, Washington Posts and New York Times and all those sorts of papers will probably still be standing as they have been standing, if for no other reason than the people who own those are in the same that same network.
Yeah. But at what cost though too? Like without getting into specifics, it's like there's a lot of self-censorship that's already starting to happen because between the Trump administration and their people and their like unofficial little brown shirts who like to develop campaigns online to harass and dox and threaten people who say shit that they don't like, who could be anyone from some random teen on Twitter, you know, who I don't know, maybe is transgender and they don't like that because these people are hateful bigots and they're like, let's try to ruin this person's life. Or it could be a more high profile journalist like that National Review dude whose name I'm blanking on, that conservative writer who I think wrote something critical of Ann Coulter, I believe it was, in conjunction with her support of Trump, and just became subject of a targeted harassment campaign on Twitter that involved people just writing and sending him awful, like, photoshopped photos of, like, his daughter, like, in various, like, in a concentration camp, or, like, because I think he had an adopted daughter who, this is a white dude, and he and his wife have an adopted daughter who's black, and they got photos of his daughter and like photoshopped her onto like a plantation as a slave, and saying obviously all the worst stuff you can imagine. His wife is a survivor of sexual assault, and people were like sending him all sorts of awful stuff about his wife and that. And it was interesting to me to see like this conservative white dude writer be like shocked about this, be like, all I did was like say something mildly critical of Ann Coulter, and all of a sudden all these like Donald Trump stans are like, you know, caping for him by like, you know, trying to destroy my life and like and saying like the most vile stuff you can imagine, and like it was traumatizing for my family and da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm sorry that happened to you. That is completely fucked up. And also that has been happening to people who aren't wealthy, straight, white, you know, conservative commentators for a very long time. Yeah. But nobody cares, except they care a little bit if it's Leslie Jones because she's famous.
Yeah.
And even that, like, wasn't treated nearly as seriously as it should have been at all. But in any event, because of the combination of the top-down kind of attacks that we can expect from the Trump administration, as well as the more kind of grassroots, little fascists who are organizing amongst themselves and trying to take care of business, a lot of people self-censor. I mean, I even fucking do on social media because I'm like, I'm not up for it. But what's scary is journalists self-censor. And I've been hearing a tale of that recently. And that doesn't bode well.
No.
That's not good. So we're going to have to find some ways of dealing with a range of social media facilitated attacks on people that we don't really have. The law hasn't caught up with the way the internet works. And it's going to be a delicate balance. And this is kind of, for me, going into 2017, one of the main things I'm thinking about is balancing protection for the First Amendment, which is super, super crucial, with preventing this kind of harassment and attacks, which ultimately I think serves to undermine the First Amendment because it's a censorious kind of force. It's jackbooted thugs basically coming in and beating everybody who says something that you don't like to like keep the rabble in line. And I don't know how we're going to deal with that in 2017, but I certainly don't want to do it by cracking down on First Amendment protections because that's only going to shoot us in the ass in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with the law. Or I know a lot of people want the solution to come from the law, but I'm not sure that it ever can in this case, just because the law is not. It doesn't differentiate in gray areas very well. For good reason. You can't write in all these different situations. There needs to be something better for a lot of this as far as harassment and more respect for what happens with the harassment. But I think, like short term and definitely long term is like breeding an environment online where, these people aren't where these people are shamed for this sort of behavior, where are made sure that they know that this is unacceptable, both online, and then make sure that we can, if we find out somebody in our lives or adjacent to our lives behaves like this, make sure that they know in the real world that there can be real world consequences for them for this socially. Like there may be legal consequences that we can work out that make sense, that don't cause problems, that don't cause free speech issues. But, it's not a free speech issue to tell one of your friends who has been an asshole online or has participated in something like a targeted harassment campaign, we're not friends anymore, you're out of my life, whatever, something like that. Or if it's an employee of yours, like that is an inappropriate behavior for somebody who works with us. It reflects poorly on us as an organization. You're fired.
That's an important point, actually. And I do know of situation. There was a situation I can think of where a friend of mine was getting harassed on Twitter by some guy who was doing it while he was at work, like in another country. He was in Australia, I think, but. Through some people did some recon and we're like, this guy's like doing this on a work computer, like while he's supposed to be at work. And somebody like got in touch with his employer, and his employer, I don't know what the outcome was. I don't know if he was fired or what, but I believe he was disciplined in some capacity, and the employer was horrified and seemed to behave reasonably in response to this. So that's one thing that I think is very real. Although then again, like the way things tend to work, look at that, like, waste of breath who made those racist comments about Michelle Obama and was, temporarily relieved of her position but was then quietly reinstated like last week or whatever after like the public outcry died down and people weren't paying attention anymore. It's just like, oh no, you're hired again.
Yeah, and we just need to pay attention to those things again. Well, because that was a state official too, wasn't it?
Yes, which like, and I hopefully by the time you hear this, maybe she'll have been fired again, because I think people need to demand that. Also, though, the other piece of it is these are not... All of these platforms are private companies. Twitter's a private, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. These aren't government apparatuses even. These are corporate-owned platforms that have terms of service, that have things they allow and disallow. Facebook doesn't allow nudity, for example, which is something I think they should allow, that I disagree with, but they've decided, like, no, we can't have that because that will hurt the children, or what the fuck ever.
Don't you know, nudity makes children's heads explode.
Well, that's why it's so good.
Not in like a cool, like, Scanners way, in like a really slow way. That's just disturbing.
Okay.
There's been research on this. I just made this up.
I know.
There are 20 years of research on this that I've made up.
I would love to hear about that after the podcast. But point being, I also think, and maybe we can talk about like movies and stuff in a second, but I think that these platforms need to come up with solutions themselves that takes this shit more seriously than they have been, because that's where they can say, you can't be on our platform if you do this. And actually enforce it, and not kick Richard Spencer off and then bring him back with a fucking check mark like just happened last week also.
They also
Nazi's
need to
back,
like.
did you know?
Yes, I do. They also need to actually decide like where they stand on things, because I think that's part of the problem. They need to like make it. They don't want like saying that like, oh, we're neutral in the middle. You're not neutral in the middle.
No, you're not. And I've seen this with lesser known platforms that I've been closer to for various reasons that will remain nameless. Like, I've seen how these discussions go down, and I've seen, not to stereotype, but a lot of tech bros often tend to have similar naive and sheltered views of the responsibilities of a platform in terms of harassment and making things safe for users and what that means. And a lot of times do you remember what a fucking scandal it was when Reddit instituted whatever their like very limited terms of service are? And
I remember people were complaining about it, yeah.
Because really, no, everything should be allowed and then the community will self-regulate. That's the idea, right? This like
the community does self-regulate by people leaving it. And then it's only the shitty people who stay there. And
exactly.
That's why companies, and that's why in a lot of cases, like for the survival of a company, it's not even like, yes, there's like the good proper reasons for like, we have to protect people and we have to be, we have to do the right thing, but also just for the survival of your company, for the survival of Twitter, they need to like come down on like, there is a very, very explicit, like there's a very specific group that harasses people. Actually, it's not that specific, but you can see like where it comes down, which side of any argument comes down to harassment. And oftentimes it's bros, and it's not restricted to specific sides of the political spectrum, because it was, Bernie supporters. Not all Bernie supporters, but like when it came down to like if you were to report,
there was a
somebody
shitty minority of Bernie supporters
who engaged in a lot of, they didn't do like doxing and things like that, but they did definitely engage and are continuing in some cases to engage in harassment on some level of people where they're just like, oh, you're dumb, no, Bernie's the best, yada yada. And then of course there's Trump supporters, and there's probably even a minority of Hillary supporters who did it. But
there definitely are. I mean, I've had some really shit, as somebody who supported Bernie in the primary, like, I voted for Hillary. I wanted her to win, but, Bernie was my preferred candidate, and I've had lots of shitty interactions with shitty Hillary supporters. Like, they exist too. But, however, I think what you said about they're not doxing people, that's an important distinction. There's a big difference between some annoying troll popping up on Twitter and being like, you're dumb, and you hit mute, and that's it.
Yeah.
Versus these targeted campaigns that are like, let's all go get this person.
Yeah.
And this person might be a public figure that they want to knock down a few notches, or this person could be a private citizen that nobody's heard of who's just living their life, and suddenly like they're getting death threats and they're having to leave their home because somebody found out where they live and shared that information with a bunch of Nazis. I mean, you know what one of the common denominators is here? Nazis. Usually if Nazis are involved in doing a thing, it's bad and shouldn't be done, and they shouldn't be doing it, and they shouldn't be allowed to do it on your fucking platform.
It's true. I really think that anybody should look around themselves when they're supporting any idea and say, are these people who are also supporting the idea with me the people who I want supporting the idea with me? Because honestly, when Nazis or white nationalists or any of those groups, KKK, any of those groups, really come out in force. Like, yeah, you might have one of them or two of them or 10 of them who are really into one particular thing that you're trying to push.
Or strategically latching onto a thing because they see an opportunity there.
Exactly. But, like, when they really are like, this is it, then you might want to look at what you're supporting and ask yourself if it's the right thing.
I mean, time was when if the Klan endorsed a presidential candidate, that actually hurt the candidate. That was considered unacceptable. That was an endorsement you did not want.
And in fairness, it technically did, just didn't hurt him in the right way. He did lose the popular vote by almost 3 million votes.
Yeah, but it didn't fucking matter.
No, it didn't matter, which is a whole other conversation. But it does. The silver lining to things is there are in fact more people who didn't vote for him than did vote for him, and he didn't get the popular vote. That's just a problem. The
right.
system is obviously busted.
The majority of people in this country, to the best of our knowledge, and I mean polls are obviously limited, but like, you know, according to what all polls showed, the majority of people in this country don't think he's going to be a good president. It's just a matter of how bad they think he's going to be. And a lot of people are like, well, he's going to suck, but it won't be that bad, because that's what people want to do. We want to think it's not going to be that bad because it's too fucking scary to not do the thing we tend to do psychologically, which is just recalibrate. We will recalibrate to whatever the fuck is happening to try to feel like we're in some sort of happy middle. That's what we do. It's a defense mechanism. Like, there have been studies done on this. Check yourself with that, because that's a big part of the whole normalizing of this stuff. Because now we're used to, like, oh, you know, so there's some Nazis on TV talking about their opinions, and that's normal now. Fuck it, no.
No, turn it off, turn away from it, complain. But also, like, you know, there's that. But those reactions are also, they're defense mechanisms, and you have them, and they're normal for a reason. Like, you need to get up in the morning, and you need to get out to work, and you need to feed yourself and your kids and all that. And that's fine. It's not saying that you have to be amped about these things all the time. But when you encounter things, when I encounter things, when Nicole encounters things, when any of us encounters anything like this, we really need to, like, take a moment. And you don't have to fight every battle. But, like, when you can, stick up.
Yeah, also, like, prioritize your battles. I mean, this is part of why I'm not on Twitter looking for, you know, Trump supporters so I could be like, did you know you're stupid? Let me point out to you how you're wrong. That is not a good use of my time or energy.
No.
But, you know, if somebody's, you know, if I see some shit out in the world, if somebody's messing with somebody, that's a fight that I hope I will always take and have taken in the past and hope to continue to. Because, like, think about, what kind of person do you want to be? If you were the person you wanted to be, what would you do in a given situation? And then do that fucking thing. Unless it's like, if I was the person I wanted to be in a situation, I would probably, like, have some really great fight moves or something like that, which I don't have, so I can't do that part of it. But I can do the, like, pretending to be brave part of it. I can do the, like, stepping outside of my comfort zone part of it. I can even plan things in advance about, like, hey, if I see a scenario like XYZ, what am I going to say? Mm-hmm. And so then when it happens, you know what you're going to say, and you just fucking do it. Mm-hmm. I'm mad at people who are cowardly right now. I mean, I'm cowardly. I'm scared. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fine to be scared, but sometimes you do stuff even though it scares you.
Yes, you should.
Otherwise, what kind of fucking garbage person are you?
Probably a normal one.
Yeah.
Normal garbage person.
Yeah, but can we all stop being garbage people maybe in 2017? Maybe we can be better people. I'm trying.
You know, one way to be a better person is to go to the social media and crowdfunding workshop that we're hosting January 28th at Videology in Brooklyn. You can get tickets at 4milecircus.eventbrite.com. Yes, I am advertising that every time I can.
Please keep it up. Keep it up.
It's super fun. Well, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up.
We're not going to talk about, like, movies of the year or anything like that?
I mean, we'll do, like, a game thing in a second. We can talk about that.
I was hoping we could have a back and forth about The Witch, because I just watched that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we could do that, but we were already running a little bit long.
We might have to cut some of this out. This was long. No, you're editing, so you'll do what you like.
Just gonna do what I want. I'm just gonna be like, no. Well, I was gonna say, let's do something positive to end off the episode, and that is talk about something we liked in 2016 and something we're looking forward to in 2017.
I liked my niece being born.
Yes. That's a good one to like. That's probably.
I'm looking forward to seeing her learn how to do more stuff in 2017, like babble and roll over and crawl and
Math.
You
guys,
titles.
You guys teach him.
She's going to be the new animated titler for 4 Mile Circus.
Oh, that's good because we've got these. Oh, hey, if you listen to the podcast, check out our YouTube channel next year, where we'll be doing some fun animated tip videos for social media tips every Tuesday starting at the end of January. Look, I just committed to it verbally.
Now it's got to happen.
We have a bunch of them already prepped for you guys, but that'll be fun. So obviously, I've been doing it for the first batch, but I guess Rosie is going to be doing it.
Yeah, Rosie is
going to be doing it.
Rosie's our new post-production expert, basically.
Getting them young.
She's a kid. She'll work cheap.
Exactly, getting them young so we don't have to pay her as much. She's an intern.
She'll work for Cheerios.
She's an intern. I'm sure Louise is really going to like that.
She'll love it. I'll be like, it's great. It's free childcare.
It'll be your first job. Wait, your first job was in 2017? How old are you? I'm 18. That was you were not even 1 year old. It's going to be a great conversation that she's going to have
because she's that awesome.
Yeah, in 20 years. So those are both good. The thing I liked in 2016 was starting 4 Mile Circus in this way, because it's just one step closer to, me getting out of bed every morning. And
oh, the facts keep coming.
And then looking forward in 2017, not just to our January 28th workshop at Videology, which you can buy tickets for at 4milecircus.eventbrite.com. That's the social media and crowdfunding strategies and realities workshop, which you're just absolutely going to love. Not just that workshop, but future workshops beyond that, because that one's just going to be so wildly successful and popular that we're just going to have to do them on a regular basis. And you'll get to come and see us, hang out. Learn a few things.
See how much funnier we are when we have a couple drinks in us?
I don't think we could possibly be funnier. I think we're pretty funny to begin.
See how much happier we are?
We're definitely not happier when we start drinking. I think anybody we'll get Christina. This is why we should have done this live. Christina could get on and talk about how once you and I are together and we get drunk, it just becomes just
what?
Even worse.
Well, sure, obviously.
Poor Christina.
But I mean, it's entertaining if you think, people falling down is funny, and that's a comedy classic.
I do like people falling down. In fact, I was leaving something. I'm just going to tell this little story. It's not really much of a story. I was having a conversation with somebody after I was leaving a play reading. Actually, Rebecca De Ornelas, former guest. That's the word I was looking for.
That's the word.
Former guest asked me to help her read through a play and give feedback. And as I was leaving that, which was unfortunately on the day of SantaCon. SantaCon is scary. But I was in the East Village and they were everywhere. I got there at 3 and they were already everywhere and already drinking. And I left at 5:30 and already there were too many of them I was just like, you're too far. You're too far gone. I was worried I was going to get thrown up on. Anyway, as I was walking
it's real.
to the subway, there were these two kids on skateboards. And one kid, he slips and he falls on his butt and he doesn't get seriously hurt. You take that moment to go blood? No blood. It's fine. And his friend kind of giggled at him a little bit as he was going by. And then his friend fell and his board went out from under him. And that was very entertaining because his friend who was laughing at him then had the same thing happen.
That's beautiful.
So it's just like a little poetic justice moment as I was walking by and I was like, I'm going to end up falling over now that I'm laughing at them both. But I didn't. So I was fine.
I think that's a great anecdote because if people would like to see you fall down, for example, and me point and laugh at you, but then I fall down, that could very realistically happen at the networking at the bar after the 4 Mile Circus social media crowdfunding and crowdfunding strategies.
Let's be honest, it could happen during the workshop.
That's true.
That's true. It could fall.
If you're a fan of comedy gold like that, Comedy Gold meeting Poetic Justice, this workshop is the one for you because there was no alcohol at the Axe Wound workshop. So this one's going to be so much more.
Yeah, and it'll be day drinking too, which is so much better. Because it's at 1:00 at Videology.
And so we'll
Bar
have
and
to
Cinema.
pregame, obviously. We're
Yeah,
going to show up
probably.
early to set up. I was doing scare quotes for those of you at home who couldn't see my scare quotes around the phrase set up, by which I mean set up shots to down.
There was one other thing that I thought of. That I enjoyed about 2016, and that was our Artists in Action event last Tuesday on the 13th of December, where we actually did that thing that we were just talking about, how you should get together with people in person. And we organized with Congested Cat Productions here in New York, and we went to what's the name of the place?
The local
NYC, where they usually do their Indie Works screening series. If you're in New York, you should go to the Indie Works screening series every month. I don't know. I don't think they have a consistent, like, the second Tuesday or anything like that. But look up Indie Works on Facebook, and you'll find the latest event invitation. We had a really good conversation, I think, last week about how we as artists can organize against this oncoming tide of disastrousness, political blah, Nazis.
Nazis making people unsafe.
Yeah, and just about how we can support each other and how we can work together and continue the communication, not just, through social media, which is obviously, as I think we've said a few times today, obviously that's our main focus, and we're definitely not we are not the sort that are just part of the mass of everything about it is amazing, but we're critical of it, but
we're just realistic about it. I think we try to see it with clear eyes.
Yeah, and I think you should be. And there's two very good articles that were in the New York Times on the point and counterpoint about quitting social media for your job and keeping social media for your job. Actually, I don't know if you saw, but the one who wrote the keeping social media for your job liked that we retweeted or that we shared it.
Oh, yay.
He responded.
Oh, that's great. I
Twitter.
didn't even see that.
It was last night.
I saw that you were doing some things, and I saw that there was an interchange that had happened, but I didn't.
Who's the writer of that? See, guys, that's social media working.
We
shared an article, and the guy who wrote it, he liked that we did it, and he said thank you.
We're not used to that.
No, we are. We have plenty of
things.
people.
I'm
Plenty of
kidding.
people responded, and
I
they
kid.
say, but those are both good articles. We did just recently tweet that one out, so check out those, because I think they make a good point for why both ends of the spectrum of why it should be part of your life and how it's beneficial for your work, and why it should never be and is not beneficial for your work. And I think the answer is somewhere in between, is that sometimes it's good for you and sometimes it's not, and sometimes not everybody needs to do everything.
Agreed. Hey, I have another thing I like.
Go ahead.
I've talked about this before, but I'm watching Daredevil. I'm halfway through season 2. I came to it late. I watched Jessica Jones and Luke Cage before I watched Daredevil. And I just want to throw out there that the Marvel Netflix shows, for me, are very therapeutic right now. Because they are about flawed protagonists who are trying to do the right thing and help other people in a community-minded sort of way, despite whatever, personal hang-ups and issues and demons they may have in New York City. And it deals with a lot of very real New York City issues, such as police misconduct and gentrification and things like that. And I think that's nice, and it's nice to see these flawed protagonists grapple with trying to be decent people, helping other people. And I think that all of us can maybe take a little bit of inspiration from that and should try to be superheroes ourselves in a way.
So you're saying that I should beat up real estate developers?
Yes.
Because they're all criminals.
They almost all are, actually.
I'm not bald guys.
I mean,
they might be.
We're not advocating for anybody beating anybody.
I'm definitely not advocating for not doing that.
Agreed. Really, we should talk off-air BT dubs about The Punisher.
on season 2.
Oh, I have many opinions on that. But yeah, well, let's wrap up. 4milescircus.com.
4milescircus.com. You can find us there.
You can find us there. You can find us on Twitter at 4 Mile Circus. You can find us on Facebook, 4 Mile Circus. You can find us on Instagram, 4 Mile Circus.
You can find us on iTunes, and you can leave us a 5-star review there, because that actually, especially for new podcasts like ours that are really hard for people to find unless like they are clicking a link. If when people are browsing iTunes trying to find new podcasts to listen to, if we get more reviews, we'll show up in more people's searches when they're looking for, say, stuff about social media or whatever. So it's not just for our egos and vanity. We actually, if you like this show and you think other people might like it, if you leave us a positive review, a 5-star rating by itself is great too. A review where you actually type some words, even if it's just like show good, listen please. There, I just ghost wrote it for you. It actually makes a big difference for us in terms of like maybe someday getting onto the iTunes rankings, for example. Someday.
Okay, but now all I want, please, everybody listening, please just leave the show good, listen please review. Only leave show good, listen please. I really, really want that. I think if we get like a bunch of those, that's something that we can brag about.
I think if we get a bunch of those, we might get flagged in iTunes algorithm for...
Why? They'd all be from legitimate accounts for show good, listen please. Okay, leave review, show good, listen please. I don't care what the stars you give us are, as long as you say show good, listen please.
And if you do that, we'll do something special for you. I don't know what it is, but I'm imagining it might have to do with Sean dressing up as Santa and giving you some sort of gift that you didn't actually know that you wanted. Let's put it that way.
That I'm not gonna know. Okay, so
just let it be.
We're not
just
gonna
leave that there.
Leaving that elf on its shelf.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, come find us 4 Mile Circus pretty much everywhere, and
come to our workshop.
Come to our workshop, January 28th. Goodbye. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, and check out other 4 Mile Circus services and projects at 4milescircus.com, as well as 4 Mile Circus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Watch our first VOD release, Nicole's award-winning feminist phone sex horror comedy Small Talk, at 4milescircus.com/store,